The courtroom stillness was broken as Mike Wolfe, once a beloved figure on American television, erupted in anger upon hearing his life sentence. His journey from searching for antiques to this grim outcome was beyond imagining. Wolfe, known from American Pickers, was found guilty of playing a role in the death of his previous partner, Frank Fritz. The sound of the prison door closing marked the end as he delivered a haunting farewell. Recalling his past, Wolfe spoke of the deep connections he had forged over the past 13 years with his team, viewing them as a second family. He felt immense gratitude for their belief in him and the opportunity they provided. But amidst these reflections, a sense of betrayal and failure surfaced, lamenting that he took everything from me. I was the one who built American Pickers. The startling news from America stunned countless individuals across the globe. The image of Wolfe, a well-known figure, being escorted away in handcuffs, seemed almost unreal. At first, many speculated that the arrest was tied to some internal conflict within the antiques community, or perhaps a bitter business fallout with the History Channel. But as the story began to unfold, it became clear that the truth was far more complex and far more shocking than anyone could have anticipated. As the layers of this shocking story peeled away, the unsettling reality came to light. Wolfe was reportedly linked to the tragic death of Frank Fritz. Just days after Fritz's passing, Wolfe took to Instagram, seemingly expressing sorrow. His post read, "I am heartbroken to hear of Frank's passing. I have known Frank for more than half my life, and what you saw on TV is what we had in real life. He was a special person. Rest in peace, my friend." The heartfelt message seemed like a sincere tribute at first, but it quickly became clear that there was far more beneath the surface of this emotional farewell, something much darker and more complicated. Wolfe was soon revealed as the prime suspect in Fritz's death, turning what was once perceived as a sorrowful post into something far more sinister. We'd love to hear from you. Drop your hometown in the comments and let us know where you're watching from. Initially, Frank Fritz's death was attributed to complications from a stroke. Medical reports revealed he had been battling cerebrovascular disease and aortic stenosis, serious conditions that can wreak havoc on blood circulation. But as investigators dug deeper, questions started to arise, casting a shadow of suspicion over the official cause and raising doubts about whether his death was truly a natural one. A crucial piece of evidence dramatically altered the investigation's trajectory. Investigators uncovered an empty pill bottle in Frank Fritz's home, which contained faint fingerprints that were traced back to Wolfe. This discovery led to a DNA analysis, and the results shattered the initial assumptions. It was confirmed that Fritz's death was not from natural causes, but a premeditated murder, turning the entire case on its head and exposing a chilling new reality behind what was once believed to be a tragic accident. A follow-up medical report revealed that Frank Fritz had alarmingly high levels of fentanyl, a potent opioid painkiller, in his system, levels far exceeding what would be considered safe. This discovery raised immediate red flags, especially since fentanyl wasn't included in his prescribed medications. Given Fritz's well-documented medical history and his tightly regulated treatment plan, the likelihood of him self-medicating seemed virtually impossible. This unexpected finding deepened the mystery, suggesting that something far more sinister had been at play in his death. Authorities swiftly focused on those who had been closest to Frank Fritz in his final moments. As the investigation advanced, a key witness from the American Pickers crew came forward with crucial details, guiding police to the location where Fritz's body was discovered. Alongside this, incriminating text messages from Wolfe to Fritz surfaced, further deepening the suspicion surrounding his involvement. The final blow came with the confirmation of Wolfe's fingerprints on the pill bottle, cementing his role in the tragic events. The prosecution made their stance clear. This wasn't a case of reckless mistake or heat-of-the-moment violence. They claimed it was a deliberate, pre-planned killing fueled by jealousy and personal ambition. For viewers who once dismissed the tension between Wolfe and Fritz as clever publicity to keep American Pickers relevant, the truth hit like a punch to the gut. The beloved show about dusty barns and hidden treasures had been forever stained by a real-life story of deceit, rivalry, and murder. Mike Wolfe was a regular visitor at Frank Fritz's home, giving him easy access without drawing attention. During the trial, it was revealed that fentanyl was found in Fritz's system, an unsettling detail that matched Wolfe's internet search history, raising serious suspicions. Investigators uncovered chilling search history on Wolfe's device's queries about untraceable poisons and how to mimic the symptoms of a stroke. These weren't just idle curiosities, they pointed directly to premeditation. The toxicology report revealed fentanyl levels in Frank Fritz's system that were alarmingly high, far beyond what could be explained by any prescribed treatment, especially considering his known medical vulnerabilities and tightly controlled care plan. Combined with Wolfe's unrestricted access to Fritz and his digital trail of incriminating research, the case took a sinister turn. What initially appeared to be a tragic medical emergency began to look more like a calculated assassination. The autopsy didn't just raise eyebrows, it provided enough disturbing evidence to prompt Iowa State Police to reopen the case, this time under the shadow of murder. At the center of the new investigation stood Mike Wolfe, no longer just a bystander but the primary suspect in what now appeared to be a carefully orchestrated act of betrayal. Authorities quietly launched a covert operation, retracing the last interactions Fritz had, zeroing in on Wolfe with an intensity that suggested they believed the truth was far darker than anyone had suspected. What the detectives discovered shocked even the most seasoned detectives. Security footage from Fritz's quiet neighborhood accidentally captured a crucial clue. Wolfe's car had appeared at Fritz's home late at night, just 3 hours before the emergency call was made. That moment, when the neighborhood was dark and everyone was asleep, raised suspicions, especially given the strained relationship between the two at the time. It was Mike Wolfe who dialed 911, and his voice trembled with urgency. He claimed he had just discovered Fritz, unresponsive and lifeless. On the surface, it sounded like the desperate cry of someone who had stumbled upon a tragedy. But as the investigation unfolded, that call began to feel less like a cry for help and more like a carefully crafted performance. Could it have been a premeditated attempt to plant himself as the concerned friend, while quietly steering the story in his favor? The more authorities replayed the call, the more it raised chilling questions. Was Mike trying to report a death or direct the scene of one? When emergency crews arrived, Mike Wolfe looked utterly shattered, shaking, weeping, the picture of grief. But that raw emotion didn't quite match what followed. Witnesses and investigators noticed something odd. As soon as Frank Fritz was officially declared dead, Mike's demeanor subtly shifted. That's when the mask seemed to crack. Behind the tears was a man who may have known too much and used it. Armed with intimate knowledge of Frank's health issues, Mike may have exploited those vulnerabilities to craft a crime scene that would mislead even seasoned investigators. It wasn't just tragic, it was disturbingly calculated. Given his close relationship with Fritz, Wolfe would have known every detail of his declining health, especially the prior stroke and the looming risk of cardiac issues. That kind of knowledge wasn't just personal, it was potentially tactical. The decision to administer fentanyl, a drug notorious for its potency, seems anything but random. Its symptoms could easily mimic or worsen the signs of a stroke, blurring the lines between foul play and natural causes. What's unsettling is how precisely everything was staged. Fritz's body placement, the timing, even the surrounding clues all pointed toward a quiet death from illness. Nothing felt out of place, and maybe that was the most suspicious part of all. Wolfe, who had been by Fritz's side for years, knew his vulnerabilities all too well, especially his history of strokes and suspected heart issues. That intimate knowledge made fentanyl a chillingly strategic option. Its symptoms could mimic a stroke or trigger a fatal one, blurring the lines between accident and intention. Nothing about the scene was random. From the way Fritz was found to the faintest trace of evidence, every detail appeared crafted to point toward a natural demise. If this was murder, it was staged with unsettling precision. The real shock came not from Fritz's death, but from what happened right after. Wolfe didn't pause to grieve. Instead, he acted with eerie urgency. Within just 48 hours, he was in a lawyer's office pushing to gain control of Fritz's name and image for future business ventures. Even more suspicious, he somehow located Fritz's private storage spots, places filled with rare collectibles the public had never seen. How did he know where to look, and why the rush? For many, his actions felt less like loss and more like a calculated move. Things spiraled further when the contents of Fritz's will were made public. To the shock of many, every cent of his nearly $6 million estate had been left to Mike Wolfe. The news spread fast, and so did the outrage. Friends felt blindsided, fans were baffled, and Fritz's father, William, was outraged. As Frank's only living relative, William couldn't stay silent. He filed a legal challenge, demanding the will be examined. From his perspective, it didn't add up. Why would a man in poor health, estranged from the spotlight, leave everything to a friend with no mention of family? The move felt abrupt, suspicious, and for some, even calculated. When the legal battle erupted, Wolfe wasted no time. He lawyered up fast, claiming he was only defending what Fritz had wanted, but rather than clearing the air, his swift reaction stirred up even more suspicion. Was he truly honoring Fritz's last wishes, or was he racing to secure the inheritance before anyone could challenge it? At the heart of the storm lies one chilling question. Did Frank Fritz truly have the mental clarity to grasp and willingly sign his will? If the original will had remained uncontested, Mike Wolfe stood to inherit a fortune, an outcome that stirred suspicions of exploitation and cunning influence, just as prosecutors had warned in court. But standing firmly on the other side is William Fritz, determined to shield his late son's memory. In his eyes, there's no way Frank would have knowingly handed everything over to Wolfe, not after the strain and growing distance that clouded their final years. The question lingers. Was this inheritance truly Frank's wish, or someone else's design? Wolfe's cold precision in his moves suggests something far darker. Perhaps he no longer saw Fritz as an ally, but as dead weight standing in his way. His private journals, laced with unsettling confessions, hint at a brewing resentment. Phrases filled with anger and a disturbing obsession with removing Fritz from the picture entirely. Was it ambition, jealousy, a hunger for full control of the spotlight? Whatever the motive, the sequence of events surrounding Fritz's untimely end only deepens the shadows. Coincidence feels less and less likely. Wolfe reportedly arrived at Fritz's home late one evening, triggering a frantic 911 call and a wave of distress. The coroner's report, however, presented unsettling contradictions that cast doubt on Wolfe's story. Investigators later uncovered ominous search patterns on Wolfe's devices and unsettling diary entries, hinting at a hidden motive. Shortly after Fritz's death, authorities searched Wolfe's residence and office, where they unearthed a concealed safe stocked with unlabeled prescription bottles, an unnerving find that further fueled speculation. The findings from the laboratory analysis were startling, as the contents of the discovered safe corresponded with the toxins identified within Fritz's system. Yet the most alarming discovery was the content of Wolfe's private journal, which exposed a sinister aspect of his character, starkly contrasting with his publicly perceived amiable personal. Those private journals allegedly went beyond trivial spats, exposing a festering grudge against Fritz. They reached a chilling climax mere weeks before his demise, when Wolfe reportedly penned this unsettling line: "Without me, this program would not exist. He has become a burden. Now there is only one way for me to protect what I have built." Whether that ominous note hinted at a secret plan or was mere frustration remains pure conjecture. These words are not the mere exasperation of a colleague, but the sign of coldly calculated intentions. They reflect a selfishness and an obsession with power and prestige that Wolfe no longer sees Fritz as a person, but simply as an obstacle to be eliminated. When the truth is revealed and Wolfe is brought to justice, the diary entries become colder and more terrifying than ever, evidence that this was not a spontaneous act, but a premeditated plan. On a scale from 1 to 10, how shocked or emotional were you by Mike Wolfe's actions and the revelations about his relationship with Frank Fritz? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let us know what you think about the entire situation. The trial of Mike Wolfe, a highly publicized event that gripped the nation, stretched over 6 nail-biting weeks. The prosecution meticulously constructed a compelling argument, presenting a chain of undeniable facts that slowly unveiled the circumstances surrounding Frank Fritz's passing. The medical examiner's findings indicated that a deadly amount of fentanyl, a substance not prescribed to Fritz, was present in his system, directly challenging the preliminary conclusion that death resulted from stroke-related issues. Further incriminating Wolfe, his online search history exposed a plot, revealing his research into untraceable poisons and techniques for orchestrating a death to appear as a stroke. As the investigation progressed, law enforcement uncovered a hidden safe at Wolfe's residence and workplace, which contained unmarked medication vials. Subsequent analysis revealed a shocking truth. The vials held the same toxin responsible for Fritz's death, a revelation that reverberated around the world. The most damning discovery, however, was the vitriol-filled entries in Wolfe's personal journal. Here, he not only expressed his deep resentment towards Fritz, but also articulated his desire to eliminate him entirely. Adding to the evidence, security camera footage presented in court depicted Wolfe's vehicle arriving at Fritz's home late in the evening, merely hours before the distress call was placed. This directly contradicted Wolfe's statements and cast serious doubt on his account. Moreover, his behavior in the wake of Fritz's death, his calculated efforts to swiftly acquire assets and intellectual property, reinforced the prosecution's claim that Wolfe had acted with deliberate intent and premeditation. Wolfe's internet browsing history also revealed disturbing questions, including, can drug interactions mimicking stroke symptoms be identified post-mortem? And how to make a death appear to be caused by stroke complications. The evidence strongly suggests that Wolfe exploited Fritz's pre-existing health issues to create a seemingly natural cause of death and conceal his involvement. Testimonies from several former American pickers, cast members highlighted the increasing tension between Wolfe and Fritz in the years leading up to his death. One production assistant recounted witnessing intense disputes over the direction of the show, with Wolfe consistently asserting his need for complete creative autonomy. She also recalled Wolfe angrily telling Fritz that he was no longer entitled to equal compensation due to his declining health. One of the most shocking moments in the trial came when Danielle Colby, visibly shaken, took the stand in support of the prosecution. Hesitant but resolute, she recounted an intense confrontation with Wolfe regarding his treatment of Fritz. I could see Mike becoming increasingly fixated on controlling the public image of American pickers, she explained, her voice quivering with emotion. When she probed into Fritz's compensation, Wolfe's demeanor shifted dramatically. He became irate and even issued a warning telling her to stay out of matters that didn't concern her. Colby also uncovered unsettling notes about Fritz's medication regimen in Wolfe's office, which only deepened her concerns. When she approached him about it, he dismissed her worries, claiming his focus was solely on Fritz's health. The defense team for Wolfe attempted to portray him as a devoted friend who had wished to mend his relationship with Fritz before his untimely death. They presented testimonies from network executives who had allegedly voiced support for Fritz's rehabilitation. However, this strategy faltered when Fritz's personal physician testified that, despite his health challenges, Fritz remained optimistic about his future and even intended to launch his own antique business. Accumulating evidence from medical analyses, suspicious online queries, personal journals, and witness accounts constructed an overwhelming case against Wolfe. The trial culminated in a verdict, bringing a shocking case to its conclusion. The testimony of Frank Fritz's physician, delivered under rigorous examination by the court, dealt a final, crushing blow to Mike Wolfe's defense. The doctor firmly stated that he had never prescribed the lethal dose of the drug detected in Fritz's body. This detail effectively extinguished any remaining hope Wolfe had of proving his innocence. When Wolfe was directly confronted with the accusation of poisoning Fritz's drink, the calm demeanor he had maintained throughout the trial started to unravel. In a sudden surge of fury, he lashed out at the prosecutor, shouting, "You have no idea what it's like to create something from scratch, only to watch someone else take the credit and profit, all while flashing a smile for the cameras. Everyone acts like he's just as crucial to the success of this show as I am." The eruption caught everyone off guard, prompting the defense team to immediately call for a recess. But the damage had been done. The jury later admitted that the outburst had significantly shifted their perspective during deliberations, revealing the deep-seated jealousy and resentment Wolfe had carried for years, emotions that had remained hidden beneath his calm exterior. As the investigation deepened, evidence of Wolfe's financial motives piled up, solidifying the case against him. Forensic accountants uncovered that just months before Fritz's death, Wolfe had quietly reorganized his business affairs to ensure he would control Fritz's intellectual property if he were ever incapacitated or died. Even more damning, Wolfe had taken out a $5 million life insurance policy, with his company named as the beneficiary should Fritz pass away. Prosecutors also revealed that Wolfe had secretly moved over $2 million worth of precious antiques into a network of shell companies designed to hide his financial moves. The jury, after just 4 hours of deliberation, returned with a decisive verdict: guilty. The courtroom was thick with tension as the judge sentenced Wolfe to life in prison without the possibility of parole. In a shocking moment, Wolfe, who had held his calm throughout the trial, suddenly erupted. He leapt to his feet, shouting, "You don't understand! He wants to destroy everything! He wants to destroy my legacy!" In a blind rage, he charged at the defense table, sending papers and glasses flying across the room. The courthouse police acted swiftly, but Wolfe broke free, lunging toward the Fritz family, flailing wildly before he was finally restrained. Amid the pandemonium, Wolfe's fury escalated. Grabbing an antique walking stick, a key piece of evidence in the case, he swung it wildly, striking one of the officers in the shoulder. "I built American pickers, this is my legacy," he yelled, even as 3 officers wrestled him to the floor. In the chaos, his gaze locked onto Danielle Colby, his longtime co-anchor. "Tell them the truth. Tell them who Frank really is," he snarled, desperation in his voice. But Colby, visibly shaken, only turned away, her tears streaming down her face as she silently ignored his plea. Court documents unveiled how Wolfe systematically drove a wedge between the crew and Fritz, cultivating a divide so deep it seemed irreparable. Even as he was restrained, his fury didn't subside. He continued to yell, spewing venomous words that exposed unsettling truths about his ambitions. "I'm launching my own show," he raged. "He told me I was finished, that the network wanted him back." The admission stunned those in the courtroom, revealing the bitter personal and professional rivalries that had been brewing beneath the surface. Before Wolfe was escorted from the courtroom, the judge addressed him with a severe tone. "You may present yourself as a protector of history and culture, but at your core, you are consumed by hatred and a relentless desire for dominance. Today, justice is served not only for Frank Fritz, but also for everyone who placed their faith in you." As the heavy prison doors closed behind him, Wolfe's parting words lingered, leaving a chilling uncertainty. Goodbye, everyone. Was this the desperate plea of a man confronting deserved consequences, or merely the final performance of a skilled deceiver? The answer to that question may forever remain elusive. The bond between Mike Wolfe and Frank Fritz was the heart of American Pickers, the wildly popular reality TV series that captivated millions globally. The duo journeyed across America, scouring antique shops and hidden corners of small towns in pursuit of rare treasures, each one with its own intriguing story. On screen, their relationship appeared rock solid, built on mutual respect, a shared love for antiques, and playful exchanges that made their dynamic seem effortlessly enjoyable. However, beneath the surface, things weren't always as smooth as they appeared. The unique dynamic between the two men, with their differing approaches and knowledge, was a major draw for viewers. The show's appeal stemmed from their genuine interactions, including their minor disagreements, which became a trademark of American Pickers. Yet beneath the entertaining scenes and intense negotiations, the bond between Wolfe and Fritz began to show signs of strain. The tension escalated over time, particularly after Fritz's absence following season 21. His significant health issues, encompassing heart and back problems, were a primary factor, preventing him from participating in the show. Moreover, diverging work ethics contributed to the widening gap between the two. Wolfe increasingly asserted control over the show's direction and allegedly isolated Fritz by disparaging him to network executives, leaving Fritz feeling marginalized and unfairly treated. The shocking allegations against Mike Wolfe sent shockwaves through the world of reality television, putting the future of American Pickers in serious jeopardy. The History Channel reacted swiftly, pulling all episodes featuring Wolfe from their programming and issuing a statement, expressing their dismay and offering their deepest sympathies to the family of Frank Fritz. The fallout continued as major sponsors began withdrawing their financial support, leaving the fate of the show hanging in the balance. Simultaneously, the Fritz family has taken legal action, seeking to regain control of their collection of historical artifacts and the intellectual property rights connected to the show. They have publicly committed to protecting the legacy that Fritz helped to build, and are also pursuing legal recourse against the History Channel, alleging that they failed to adequately address Wolfe's increasingly erratic and problematic conduct. Some experts in psychology have proposed that Mike Wolfe may exhibit traits associated with narcissistic personality disorder, a condition that can be exacerbated by prolonged exposure to fame and public scrutiny. Dr. Robert Keller, a forensic psychologist who closely observed the trial, commented that while this doesn't excuse the defendant's actions, it provides insights into the contrast between a likable public persona and a manipulative nature. Individuals with narcissistic traits can appear charming and composed in public, while harboring deep-seated resentment and a compulsion to control others. Do you believe Mike Wolfe truly betrayed Frank Fritz, or was this all a misunderstanding? Comment: yes, if you think it was a betrayal, or no, if you think otherwise. We'd love to hear your opinion. Fritz's exit from the show may have triggered deep-seated psychological wounds that had accumulated over time. A particularly disturbing aspect of the case is how Mike Wolfe seemingly profited from his celebrity status. In the weeks following Fritz's passing, he used social media to express his sympathy, but also used the opportunity to promote memorial merchandise related to the show. This prompted prosecutor Sarah Donovan to argue during her closing statement that this case is not just about criminal behavior, but also about a deliberate act of deception against millions of viewers. The investigation revealed that over $1 million had been collected in Fritz's name, yet a significant portion of these funds were diverted into accounts managed by Wolfe. Upon hearing the verdict, numerous dedicated viewers of American Pickers expressed feelings of shock and betrayal. Robert Jenkins, a longtime follower of the show, lamented, "We invited him into our living rooms each week, believing in his authenticity, only to discover that it was all an elaborate facade." Former associates of Wolfe also distanced themselves, releasing startling statements and emphasizing the need to honor Fritz's memory. The American Pickers cast experienced a deep rift, with some maintaining their belief in Wolfe's innocence while others were swayed by the compelling evidence against him. Danielle Colby, a prominent member of the show, sided with the prosecution and announced that she would be taking a break from her career in light of the tragic circumstances. She expressed her desire that despite everything, the legacy of preserving antiques and history that American Pickers once embodied could still endure. Despite Wolfe's life sentence, the legacies of both men will endure, though in starkly contrasting ways. Frank Fritz will be remembered as a passionate and dedicated collector whose genuine love for antiques inspired countless individuals to appreciate the beauty of historical artifacts. His infectious smile and enthusiasm will forever remain in the hearts of his admirers. Conversely, Mike Wolfe's legacy has suffered irreparable damage. Once considered a visionary in the world of antiques, his accomplishments are now eclipsed by acts of betrayal, greed, and an unpardonable crime. With Mike Wolfe receiving a life sentence, the trial concluded, marking what many considered a just end for his crimes. However, the world of American Pickers and the broader landscape of American reality television have been irrevocably altered. The show, once seen as a symbol of respecting history and preserving America's unique heritage, now finds its image tainted by betrayal, violence, and the shocking revelations of the courtroom. Beneath the veneer of charm and a seemingly sincere love for antiques, a disturbing darkness has been revealed. One can't help but wonder if there are any further secrets lurking beneath the surface of this sensational case. The internet is buzzing with startling rumors about Rick Harrison, the familiar face behind porn stars. Whispers are spreading fast, claiming that Rick, whose real name is Richard Harrison, has been handed a life sentence in prison. This shocking news has left loyal fans in total disbelief. Known for his expert knowledge in rare collectibles and his razor-sharp negotiation tactics, Rick was more than just a TV personality. He was the linchpin of one of Las Vegas's most iconic pawn shops, a figure who represented trust, wisdom, and authority in a world full of chaos. Now, however, that trusted image is at risk of falling apart. If these rumors are true, the foundation of what we thought we knew about him might be crumbling. For years, Pawn Stars was the go-to show for a unique blend of high-stakes haggling, extraordinary antiques, and the captivating personalities that made the business world come to life. Millions of viewers tuned in, not just for the antiques but for the individuals behind the counter, especially Rick Harrison, whose presence exuded strength and fairness. But recently the focus has shifted, and it's no longer just about the deals being struck on the show. Rick Harrison is now at the center of a darker, more troubling narrative. The rumors surrounding him suggest he may be facing serious legal consequences, painting a starkly different picture than the one we've come to know from the pawn shop floor. What's truly going on behind the scenes? Are these rumors about his legal battles grounded in truth? We must dive into the details of this emerging story to uncover what's really happening with Rick Harrison. Before we dive deeper into Rick Harrison's shocking story, where are you from? Let us know in the comments below. It's wonderful connecting with viewers worldwide. Richard Harrison, better known to millions as Rick Harrison, was born on March 22, 1965, in Lexington, North Carolina. Long before he became the sharp-witted deal-maker on Pawn Stars, Rick's early life was anything but smooth. At just 2 years old, his family uprooted and moved to San Diego, California, where he would spend his formative years. At the age of 8, Rick was diagnosed with epilepsy, a condition that disrupted his schooling and often kept him at home. While other kids played outside or sat in classrooms, Rick found escape in books. He dove deep into history, page after page, building a mental archive that would one day give him a unique edge in the pawn business. What began as a medical setback quietly transformed him into a walking encyclopedia, one that would eventually become his secret weapon in the high-stakes world of buying and selling the past. Rick's life took a dramatic turn when illness forced him to drop out during his sophomore year of high school. Most would have seen that as a dead end, but not Rick. Instead, he channeled that setback into fuel for self-education, diving deep into subjects like business and history. While his peers were in classrooms, Rick was out in the real world, learning side by side with his father, Richard Benjamin Harrison, better known to fans as the Old Man. From a young age, Rick was exposed to the ins and outs of hustling, haggling, and judging the true worth of just about anything. That street-level schooling gave him a sharp eye and an instinct for authenticity skills that would later catapult him into the spotlight and form the bedrock of his empire. At just 17, Rick faced a life-changing moment when his girlfriend Kim was pregnant. The two quickly married and became young parents to sons, Cory and Adam. But after 8 years, the marriage unraveled. In 1981, the family relocated to Las Vegas, where Rick's father launched a modest coin shop. That humble store laid the foundation for something far bigger. By 1989, it evolved into the gold and silver pawn shop, an unassuming storefront that would one day become world famous as the beating heart of Pawn Stars. Those first years were anything but smooth. Rick and his father faced a non-stop grind, handling everything from shady deals to unpredictable customers. Every day brought a new challenge, and nothing came easy. But out of that chaos, Rick sharpened his eye for rare treasures and built a solid name in Vegas as an expert on all things historical and collectible. By the early 2000s, he saw more than just business in the pawn world. He saw a show waiting to happen. He pitched the idea of turning his shop's daily drama into a TV series, but the networks weren't biting. Still, Rick refused to quit. After years of rejection, his persistence finally paid off. In 2009, the History Channel gave him the green light and Pawn Stars hit the air, changing everything overnight. Pawn Stars pulled back the curtain on a world most people had never seen, where rare artifacts, wild stories, and high-stakes haggling collided behind a pawn shop counter. The show brought together Rick, his sharp-tongued father known as the Old Man, his no-nonsense son Cory Big Hoss, and their lovable wildcard Chumley. Together they turned simple deals into must-watch television. Each episode mixed quirky customer encounters with fascinating history lessons, as the team appraised everything from vintage weapons to one-of-a-kind collectibles. When the show debuted, it exploded in popularity, turning Rick from a small-time shop owner into a national star. Viewers were drawn to his blunt honesty, deep expertise, and ruthless deal-making. His signature phrase, "The best I can do is," became a pop culture catchphrase, signaling that someone was about to leave with less than they hoped for. Pawn Stars wasn't just addictive TV, it was surprisingly educational. Each deal came with a history lesson, diving into the stories behind the rare and unusual items brought into the shop. That blend of curiosity and nostalgia pulled in viewers of all ages and made the show a standout hit on the History Channel. Rick's vision turned a regular pawn shop into a global attraction. What was once just a storefront on Las Vegas Boulevard became a must-see destination. Tourists lined up not just to browse, but to catch a glimpse of the stars or maybe even land a moment on camera. Business boomed. Rick capitalized on the buzz, expanding into branded merchandise, best-selling books, and even launching a restaurant, all built on the back of a pawn empire powered by TV fame. Rick Harrison's influence quickly expanded far beyond porn stars. He became a familiar face on talk shows, featured in top magazines, and a popular guest at business conferences. Audiences were drawn to his no-nonsense approach to success, turning lessons from the porn counter into real-world advice. His story resonated with aspiring entrepreneurs everywhere. Behind the scenes, Rick was the mastermind driving the show's success. Known for his calm, strategic mindset, he often stepped in to steer Cory's impulsive moves or reel in Chumley's wild behavior. His leadership wasn't flashy, it was steady, smart, and decisive. What makes Rick's journey even more compelling is where it began. He dropped out of school as a teen battling epilepsy, but instead of letting it define him, he built an empire. From a small shop in Las Vegas to global fame, Rick didn't just find success, he created it. And while porn stars may evolve, one thing remains clear: Rick Harrison is the heart of the show, the force that turned a simple pawn shop into a cultural phenomenon. And on a scale from 1 to 10, how inspiring do you find Rick Harrison's journey from dropping out of school to building an empire despite battling epilepsy? Share your thoughts and let us know why you feel that way in the comments below. Rick Harrison's connection with his father, Richard Old Man Harrison, ran far deeper than family ties. It was a partnership built on grit, loyalty, and a shared vision shaped by decades behind the pawn counter. Together, they didn't just create the gold and silver pawn shop, they built a legacy grounded in sharp instincts and unwavering integrity. When the old man died in 2018, Rick didn't just inherit a business, he inherited a code. And every deal he's made since has been a tribute to the values his father lived by: smart, honest, and tough as nails. Rick Harrison may have struck gold in business, but his personal life hasn't been quite as smooth. His second marriage to Tracy Harrison lasted an impressive 27 years before ending in divorce in 2011, a quiet ending to a long chapter. Just 2 years later, Rick tied the knot again, this time with Deanna Burdett. The wedding wasn't your average affair. Danny Coker from Counting Cars led the ceremony, while fan favorite Chumley added some humor as the ring bearer. It was flashy, fun, and very Vegas, but even with all the charm, Rick's search for lasting love has had its fair share of bumps. Rick Harrison didn't stop at reality TV fame. He turned his success into a growing empire. Right next to his iconic pawn shop, he launched Rick's Rollin' Smoke BBQ and Tavern, blending barbecue with business at the heart of Las Vegas. Back in 2011, he also released License to Pawn, a revealing book packed with untold stories from behind the counter. Known for his sharp eye and instincts, Rick has handled everything from ancient relics to vintage cars. Yet what really sets him apart is his willingness to admit when he doesn't know something. He regularly calls in experts, not out of weakness, but because smart businessmen know when to listen. Rick once scored big with a surprising find: a 2001 New England Patriots Super Bowl ring, snagged for just $2,600. At the time, it seemed like a bold buy, but its value skyrocketed later, making it one of his smartest moves. Even more jaw-dropping was his acquisition of Spanish gold coins recovered from a 1715 shipwreck. That wasn't just a business deal, it revealed his deep fascination with lost treasures and pieces of forgotten history. Despite his success, Rick's life took a sudden and unexpected turn in 2023 when he found himself at the center of a federal investigation. It stunned both his fans and inner circle. A team of FBI agents, IRS officials, and members of the Department of Cultural Heritage Protection raided both his Las Vegas home and the gold and silver pawn shop, leaving everyone questioning what was behind the dramatic move. At the time of the raid, witnesses described a scene straight out of a thriller. Customers and staff were held as agents, seized computers, documents, and several artifacts from the store. Cory Harrison, Rick's son, was present and later remarked how quickly everything unfolded. It almost felt like a dream. Soon after, videos of Rick being escorted by Secret Service agents from his home spread like wildfire on social media, sparking rampant speculation. As the investigation unraveled, it became clear that authorities were looking into serious accusations, a complex scheme involving tax evasion, money laundering, and the illegal sale of questionable artifacts. The probe was triggered by flagged transactions and complaints from former business partners. Despite the mounting public scrutiny, Rick has maintained a composed demeanor, continuing to run his business while waiting for the investigation to clarify the truth. Despite the challenges, Rick Harrison has undeniably cemented his place as one of reality TV's most influential figures. His transformation from a quiet, bookish boy to a savvy businessman and porn star's legend speaks volumes about his resilience, skill, and adaptability. After the raid, the History Channel halted production of Porn Stars, issuing a brief statement that it was closely monitoring the situation and would decide on next steps once more information surfaced. Meanwhile, the gold and silver pawn shop stayed open, though business had taken a hit due to the ongoing legal drama surrounding Rick. Rick's team was quick to assert his innocence, insisting the investigation was a misunderstanding that would soon be resolved. His attorney, David Marshall, a well-known Las Vegas lawyer with a history of celebrity clients, confidently stated that Rick had always operated his business with transparency and in full compliance with the law. But as the investigation unfolded, unsettling details began to surface. Authorities claim they have evidence suggesting Rick orchestrated a scheme to deliberately undervalue historical artifacts to lower his tax burden while secretly selling them at their true market value. Investigators further allege that Rick used intermediaries to acquire stolen items, including historically significant documents and rare artifacts previously held by museums and private collectors. Court records later revealed that the investigation began after a former employee of Rick's decided to come forward. The person claimed to have been directly involved in the acquisition of many of the valuable items and provided information about a private accounting system used to record sensitive transactions that Rick wanted to keep off the official books. Rick was arrested shortly thereafter, but was released on bail just a day later and quickly faced court. He was charged with a variety of serious crimes, including tax evasion, money laundering, dealing in stolen property, and conspiracy to illegally purchase historical artifacts. Although attorney David Marshall continued to maintain his client's innocence, the pressure from the prosecution grew. The trial stretched on for nearly a year with a constant flow of damning evidence. At first, Rick denied all charges, holding firm in his innocence. But as former associates took the stand and testified against him, his position grew increasingly precarious. The prosecution presented a mountain of financial records, encrypted communications, and testimonies from ex-employees who claimed Rick had instructed them to alter records to cover up large illicit transactions. One of the most damning pieces of evidence was a series of messages between Rick and an unidentified supplier. In these messages, Rick allegedly discussed methods to erase the provenance of an 18th century document believed to have been stolen from a university archive. In another conversation, he purportedly devised a scheme to bypass reporting requirements for substantial cash payments. Throughout the trial, Rick stood his ground, making regular appearances on various television shows, particularly on conservative-leaning channels. He portrayed himself as the target of a concerted effort to ruin both his reputation and the success of porn stars. Supporters rallied behind him, creating hashtags like #FreeRick and staging protests outside the courthouse to express their frustration with the handling of the case. However, for many, Rick's fall from grace was a stunning blow. The image of a shrewd, no-nonsense businessman on TV was now overshadowed by a tangle of serious legal troubles, leaving fans and critics alike in disbelief. The judge's final decision left everyone from seasoned lawyers to bystanders reeling in shock. As the verdict was read, the courtroom plunged into a heavy silence. Throughout the trial, Rick had shown little emotion, but at that moment he went visibly pale. His son, Cory, lowered his head and covered his face, while Chumley, his longtime friend, hurried out in tears. Some observers remarked that the sentence seemed severe given the accusations, yet the judge underscored that this was more than a matter of financial crimes. It was a penalty for the irreplaceable damage Rick had wrought upon cultural and historical treasures. Despite the ongoing controversy, many of Rick's loyal fans rallied behind him, convinced he deserved sympathy. They organized support groups on social media, reminding everyone of the positive impact porn stars had in making history more accessible and engaging than ever before. "Rick taught me to love history in a way that school never could," one fan expressed. "Now it's our turn to show him we haven't forgotten the good he's done." These supporters emphasized that Rick's contributions to bringing history to life for millions should not be overshadowed by his legal troubles. "Mr. Harrison, you presented yourself to the American public as a protector of history, someone who values artifacts and treasures our shared heritage," the judge remarked during sentencing. "Yet in truth you were involved in an illegal trafficking network that played a part in the systematic looting and destruction of irreplaceable cultural treasures for personal profit. This court cannot ignore the severity of your actions." The judge's words reverberated through the courtroom, sealing the fate of Rick Harrison and bringing an end to the storied career of the beloved porn star's figure. Immediately after the verdict was delivered, Rick's legal team filed for an appeal, arguing that the sentence was overly harsh and infringed upon his civil rights, given the non-violent nature of the crime. They also sought to have Rick released on bail while the appeal was processed, but this request was swiftly denied. The image of Rick being escorted out of the courtroom in handcuffs quickly dominated newspapers and social media. Public opinion split sharply. Many of Rick's devoted fans remained skeptical, suspecting there was more to the case than met the eye, and believed he had become a scapegoat for broader issues within the artifact trade. Meanwhile, historians and experts in cultural heritage praised the tough sentence, viewing it as a vital step in combating the illegal trafficking of precious historical items. In response to the verdict, Rick's fan base rallied behind him with the Hearts for Harrison campaign, gathering over 100,000 signatures, demanding a re-evaluation of the sentence. "We don't deny that Rick may have made a mistake, but this sentence isn't justice, it's revenge," argued Melissa Jenkins, the campaign's organizer. "A life sentence for a non-violent crime is simply unjust. We urge everyone to sign the petition or donate to Rick's legal fund. Every prayer, every supportive message, every small contribution can help ensure he gets a fair shot at an appeal." Cory Harrison, Rick's son, spoke out with emotion. "My father may have made mistakes, but he didn't deserve to die in prison. He deserves a chance to make things right." Meanwhile, the History Channel wasted no time in distancing itself from Rick, officially cancelling Porn Stars and removing all reruns from its schedule. In a statement, the network expressed profound disappointment in Rick's actions, emphasizing its unwavering commitment to preserving and respecting cultural heritage. Once a beloved figure in television, Rick Harrison now faces an entirely different reality, one dominated by controversy, legal battles, and lingering uncertainties. Do you believe Rick Harrison's legal troubles are a misunderstanding, or do you think there's more to the story? Drop a yes if you think he's innocent, or a no if you believe the accusations are true. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Before his legal issues, Rick Harrison was a well-known figure not only on reality TV, but also as a successful businessman who expanded his reach far beyond the gold and silver pawn shop. His entrepreneurial drive led him to launch a series of restaurants and bars in Las Vegas, with future plans to branch out into other cities. Despite the damage the scandal has caused to his public image, Rick's business achievements and legacy in the industry are impossible to overlook. At present, Cory Harrison has stepped up to manage the gold and silver pawn shop entirely. While business initially suffered after the scandal, the shop remains a popular spot in Las Vegas. To rebuild trust, Cory has focused on rebranding, prioritizing transparency in all transactions, and forging partnerships with museums and educational institutions to promote ethical collecting practices. In an emotional interview 6 months after Rick's conviction, Cory shared the difficulties of keeping the family business afloat while confronting the issues raised during the trial. "We've implemented strict verification processes for every purchase," Cory explained. "What happened was wrong, and we're committed to being part of the solution, not the problem." Austin "Chumley" Russell, who considered Rick a father figure and mentor, also expressed mixed emotions. "I learned a lot from Rick's solid business principles that I'll carry with me for the rest of my life," Chumley shared in a podcast interview. "But I had to come to terms with the fact that there was a side to him I didn't see, or maybe just didn't want to see." For the Harrison family, the focus has shifted to supporting Rick through his appeal while working tirelessly to restore the pawnshop's reputation and secure its future. Cory's decision to take over the business surprised many, especially given his impulsive reputation on Pawn Stars. However, his sharp business sense has proven he's more than capable of guiding the family legacy. "The messages of support from fans have been a lifeline for my dad," Cory shared in a recent press release. He revealed that he personally reads every letter he receives and feels strengthened by the outpouring of belief in the Harrison family. Amid the turmoil, the family has organized Sunday vigils in front of the pawn shop, where loyal fans gather to show their support for Rick. For those unable to attend in person, the family encourages them to send letters, cards, or even photos from their cherished Pawn Stars moments. "Those small gestures make a huge difference to a man facing the darkest time of his life," Cory explained. Despite the challenges, he remains confident that the gold and silver pawn shop will endure. "My dad taught me everything about this business," he noted. "The strong values he instilled are the foundation I'm building on now. We've made some big mistakes, but this shop has been a part of Las Vegas for over 30 years, and I'm determined to ensure it thrives for at least another 30. Rick Harrison's journey has been nothing short of remarkable. From a modest pawnbroker to a successful businessman, reality TV icon, and now a convicted inmate, his drastic transformation serves as a powerful reminder of how quickly fortunes can change, especially under the unforgiving glare of fame. Cultural critics have drawn comparisons between Rick's downfall and a Shakespearean tragedy, where a man deeply immersed in history ultimately turns the very artifacts he once valued into tools of his own undoing. His story has evolved into a stark cautionary tale, illustrating the dangers of success and the thin line between savvy business moves and criminal activity. This shocking turn of events has rocked the reality TV world and left his family business in a vulnerable state, now without the charismatic leader who once propelled it forward. In these tough times, Rick Harrison could really use the support of his fans. If you've enjoyed the years of entertainment he provided on Pawn Stars, consider sending words of encouragement, positive messages, or prayers. The Harrison family has set up a dedicated website where fans can leave messages that will be sent to Rick in prison. The family has mentioned that these messages have been a source of comfort and strength for him. Additionally, the website offers an address for physical letters, hoping each one can bring a little light into Rick's life during this difficult period. As the family highlighted, Rick has always valued his Pawn Stars audience, and knowing that you're still there for him means more than ever. With Mike Wolfe receiving a life sentence, the trial concluded, marking what many considered a just end for his crimes. However, the world of American pickers and the broader landscape of American reality television have been irrevocably altered. The show, once seen as a symbol of respecting history and preserving America's unique heritage, now finds its image tainted by betrayal, violence, and the shocking revelations of the courtroom. Beneath the veneer of charm and a seemingly sincere love for antiques, a disturbing darkness has been revealed. One can't help but wonder if there are any further secrets lurking beneath the surface of this sensational case.